from the station that's on your side. News 12, first at 5, continues.
Safety in our kids' schools always top of mind, and today Georgia lawmakers took steps to make sure every school is prepared for any kind of emergency. But first, the sun is back out. It's a little bit colder than normal. Riley, what are we looking at this week?
Yeah, Laura, we got a pretty chilly outlook for the first couple of days of the work week. We actually do have some freeze warnings in effect, highlighted in purple for our northern counties, so up towards the lake, Lincoln, McCormick, Wilkes County, even Edgefield and Saluda County. You're included in this freeze warning tonight and the early Tuesday morning 20, so looking good if you are crossing the state line. Have a full update on those cold temperatures heading our way in just about 10 minutes.
All right, thanks, Riley. The city of Augusta has been hit with $2 million worth of penalties from the IRS. They say it's due to not properly filing paperwork for the Affordable Care Act. That number could grow depending on how many years the city failed to file paperwork. We've filed several requests to learn how big and widespread this problem could be. School systems are still struggling to fill vacant teacher positions, and parents, you probably see firsthand how it's affecting your child's learning, things like class sizes, but vacancies can impact so much more. Our Hallie Turner is live at 5 with new numbers showing how severe the gap is. Even though we have just hit the springtime and there are still another 9 weeks left of school, eyes in the school system say around the Tuesday area they're kind of looking for what's in store for what's to come in August. School officials tell me that the springtime is the busiest time for new hires when it comes to educating our children, but finding those teachers is even harder. For the 2023-24 school year, Richmond County is looking at 300 teacher vacancies. Columbia County is looking at 250, and Aiken County is looking at 84. While these numbers change daily as teachers are hired, one thing remains the same. There aren't enough teachers for science, math, and special education.
This is a growing area. This is a convergence of 3 really large school districts. You have Aiken, you have Richmond, you have us. And they're growing. So the demand for these types of folks is great, and the schools aren't producing enough. In fact, the state recognized this in 2009 and offered an incentive for students coming out of these programs with math and science degrees, and gave them extra experience to go into these fields. So it's been a long problem that we've had in attracting these kinds of people. But these school districts are growing, and there just aren't enough people.
Coming up all new tonight on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we dive deeper into how these schools are attacking the shortage head on. Okay, serious problem across the board, Hallie. Thank you. Meanwhile, House leaders have okayed Georgia's 2024 budget. The $32.4 billion spending plan does include the governor's $2,000 pay raises for state employees, and that includes teachers. The budget now heads to the Georgia Senate for their approval. If it makes it out of the Senate, Governor Kemp would need to sign the bill into law. Local school districts like McDuffie, Aiken, and Richmond County have new policies in place to protect their students. Crisis alert systems allow them to contact law enforcement in case of an emergency in a matter of seconds. Today, the Education Committee reviewed a bill that would make all across the state schools would have to put in a mobile panic alert system like this one. It would connect first responders with the school in case of an emergency. State House reporter Abby Casares says if passed, schools would have 7 months to put the plan in place.
More than 5 years ago, 17 families lost their children in a school shooting in Parkland, Florida. Now lawmakers here in Georgia and across the country are supporting a bill named after one of the students who was killed.
Every moment can save a child's life.
Jason Anavatarte is the sponsor of Senate Bill 32, or Alyssa's Law, named after Alyssa Alhadeff, a 14-year-old killed in Parkland, Florida.
In an inner city school or you're in a rural school, I think the challenge always is how do you get information outside the building to where it needs to go.
His bill would bring Georgia into the 21st century with panic buttons that communicate directly with first responders in the area.
If my kids are safe, God forbid there's ever a situation like that at our schools.
States like Florida have already passed similar legislation, allocating more than $6 million to pay for the upgrade.
There's a lot of pressure on school officials and legislators by parents and the school community to do something.
Ken Trump, president of National School Safety and Security Services, says data shows training teachers and students to look out for warning signs of a shooter, not these high-tech devices, are the best tools for schools.
For technology that you can point to and say, see, we made schools safer, when in reality you're creating security theater, the illusion of more security. The devil's in the details on how it's implemented.
Bill passed through a committee today and heads to the House floor, where it will be ready for a vote before the end of session on March 29th. In Atlanta, I'm Abby Kasouras.
We have breaking news just into the newsroom. Former Augusta Commissioner Sammy Salias is asking for a new trial, this time for a different reason. Salias was found guilty of destroying records in a federal investigation and then lying about it. Last August, he requested a new trial, claiming a lack of evidence and claims a prejudiced jury. Now he's adding to the request with new complaints about his lawyers. The government has until March 23rd to respond to Salias's request. New at 5, a bill requiring annual active shooter drills mandatory in Georgia classrooms is heading to the governor's desk. House Bill 147 would require the drills, but it does give parents the option for their child to opt out. The other focus of the bill gives teachers an option to get a certification in gang violence reduction. Throughout Governor Kemp's campaign, he told parents he would sign this bill when it got to his desk, and now it's on its way. Some good news to share. Crews are refilling the Augusta Canal today. You can see those levels are looking a little bit closer to normal, and you can see the banks a little bit still, but that should be back to normal pretty soon. Last month's crews drained it so Augusta utilities workers could work on some projects in the area. Taking your shelves to the shore. Next at 5, we meet an organization that is saving our coast.
And temperatures tonight won't be getting near the freezing mark in many locations and only getting colder as we move later into the week. We'll have that first alert forecast just after the break.
Driving through Lewiston Road is not an easy task to do due to construction. Coming up all new on News 12 at 6 o'clock, we'll hear from those in the area and how it's impacting them and when the county is hoping to wrap things up.
Time and temp.
Later into the week. By Thursday afternoon, we should be seeing highs close to 70 degrees. That rain will push through late into the day Friday, continue Friday night. And then for the weekend forecast, most of that rain should be out of here by early Saturday morning. And then looking at sunshine back again by this coming up Sunday. So overall, mostly dry this weekend, just going to be a little bit cooler than average.
While there's still a little bit of time left in oyster season, a Georgia organization wants to capitalize on your hunger to give back to the coastline. Cutter Martin explains how their mission can save sea life.
In any given month with an R, you can find thousands of North Georgians flock into backyards, dinner tables, festivals for one of Georgia's most famous natural delicacies. More often than not, they're thrown away, they're forgotten. Shell to Shore, an Athens-based nonprofit, is working to change that.
We were working at an oyster restaurant in Athens called Sea Bear Oyster Bar, and we had sort of seen that there was a lot of shell going in the trash. We've been to the coast and seen you can use shell to regrow oysters, so we kind of just married those two things.
And so Shell to Shore was born. A horde of volunteers spend their free time collecting remnants of these tasty mollusks.
Y'all have any oyster shells I can take over?
Yes.
Okay.
The remnants of a weekend's worth of feasting are brought to Shell to Shore's Athens site, where they are cleaned and made ready for their return to sea.
It's kind of a three-tier operation. We pick it up from restaurants and festivals. We load it on the farm in Athens. It has to cure, which means that all the organic material has to die off on the shell before we take it back to the coast. And then we haul it in sort of 2,000-pound batches to Sapelo Island.
How many pounds, how many shells do you think you've collected?
Yeah, so in almost 2 years, April will be 2 years of operation. We have collected probably around 50,000 pounds of oyster shell, of which we have brought 35,000 approximately to the coast of Georgia.
Returning shells back to one of the most vulnerable coastlines in America can boost active oyster beds, provide a natural barrier to water level rise, and help reclaim land already lost to sea.
Sapelo is a place that has historically not gotten a lot of attention. It's wild and natural in a cool way, and we're trying to protect some of the heritage farming that they're doing there with our shell, while also working with UGA and DNR and what they collect.
As they say, the world is your oyster. Seize the opportunity and enjoy the edible treasure that our coastline has to offer. Along the way, give a little back.
Really great idea, much better use than sending them to the landfill. And speaking of oysters, Roast on the River is back. You and the family can get your tickets for that now. Big oyster roast along the Savannah River. The fundraiser supports Vets for Clean Water, and it's got fresh oysters, a bonfire. I think there's a silent auction, lots of fun. The event is March 25th, and check-in time starts at 6 p.m. If you're interested in getting a ticket, you can head to wrdw.com. The full trailer is out for one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Here's a new look at The Little Mermaid.
Something about you seems different. I can't quite figure it out.
She got legs, you idiot.
Audience got a sneak peek at the movie during last night's Academy Awards show. Two of the film stars, Halle Bailey and Melissa McCarthy, came out on stage to present the film before the trailer aired for viewers at home. The live-action version of The Little Mermaid comes out on May 26th. Excited to see. Four-time Grammy-winning and multi-platinum selling rapper Drake is going back on tour. He announced the tour on his Instagram page earlier this morning. The tour will feature Drake and 21 Savage. They'll make 2 stops in Atlanta on Saturday, July 1st and Sunday, July 2nd at State Farm Arena. The pre-sale starts in 2 days, this Wednesday, March 15th, for Cash App card holders, and anyone 13 and up in the U.S. can sign up for access to that now. Sprite will also have a pre-sale code. Theirs starts March 16th. Those tickets will officially go on sale for the public Friday, March 17th on Ticketmaster. How sweet it is. The USC Aiken men's basketball team preparing for tomorrow night's showdown in the Sweet 16. We're going to hear from the Pacers ahead of their big game next in sports.
News 12, voted best weather coverage by the Georgia Association of Broadcasters.
I'm Chip Lewis with Furniture. I'm Chip Lewis with Augusta Medicare Specialist. The Medicare enrollment process can be overwhelming. Let us take that burden off your shoulders. We're local and we're here to help. Don't wait till you're 65 to call. Are you 64.com.
Good evening, everyone. It's March, which means it's time for the madness. By defeating the Augusta Jaguars in the round of 32, the USC Aiken men's basketball team has found themselves in the Sweet 16. This is the first time the Pacers have made it to the Sweet 16 under head coach Mark Vanderslice. The Pacers share the title of co-regular season conference champions with Augusta. This team's next opponent is Lincoln Memorial, a team they lost to in their second game of the season by 21 points on the road. USC Aiken has played 30 games since then, and they say they're looking forward to having another shot at defeating Lincoln with a trip to the Elite Eight on the line.
I feel like defensively we're much better than we were. At that point, I feel like we had a lot of young guys, a lot of freshmen that, it's the first college starting off, and I feel like throughout the season they've been able to grow. And I think we've molded really well into a better team. We play a lot better, better team chemistry. So I think we're a lot better from then to now. So I'm excited to see how we do.
Luckily for the Pacers, this time around their matchup with Lincoln Memorial is a lot closer to home. They'll be hitting the court tomorrow night at 7 o'clock inside Christenberry Fieldhouse.
Okay, good luck to them. Thanks for that, Dan. Presidential hopeful Nikki Haley is making a stop in Myrtle Beach. Haley is back in the Palmetto State as she continues her run for the Republican presidential nomination. Taking a live look for you at Horry Georgetown Tech's Grand Strand campus. That's where she's going to be making her stop, and I think we have a live look there. Yep, she's not there yet, but you can see a lot of people in the crowd, and the stage is set. Organizers putting those final touches, but Haley was the first Republican candidate to officially run against former President Donald Trump. First one to throw her name into the ring. Former Governor Haley is expected to talk about border security and building up our armed forces. We'll have more coverage on her stop tonight on News 12 at 11. 2 men are facing charges connected to a string of baby formula thefts. Now authorities are working to see if anyone else is involved. Police say the suspects stole thousands of dollars worth of baby formula from stores across Tennessee and Georgia. They also say a lot of this formula was specifically made for infants who have dietary issues. Police arrested the suspects and found they were carrying 12 cans of stolen formula out of a supermarket. When officers searched their vehicle, they say they found an additional 662 cans of formula valued at $26,000.
We suspect that there's going to be more further up the food chain. People may be responsible for sending these people here, organizing it.
Parents are still dealing with the U.S. baby formula shortage from last year, and according to the Census Bureau, more than 5.3 million U.S. households are struggling still to find formula.
Well, we have really seen a pattern flip across the region over the last several days. We continued our streak of below average highs, only reaching the mid-60s this afternoon. Cold temps will continue most of the work week. I'll now look at that 7-day just after the break.
It's Ram Truck Month at Waynesboro Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Come pick up your pickup with up to $7,500 off our huge selection. Take the short drive down 25 to save time and money.
The Wilson family has been...
We will have speakers from all across the country.
We look forward to seeing you and for you joining our ministry.
There's always an if in life.
It's Ram Truck Month at Waynesboro Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram. Get 0% financing. Check out our selection of 2500s and 3500s. Take the short drive down 25 to save time and money.
A bit of deja vu for this Maryland man as he pulls off his 4th lottery win. Kenneth Weinberg won $50,000 last week with a scratch-off ticket. It's the 4th win of $50K or more for the Howard County man. Man, this guy has a horseshoe somewhere on his person. He's also won a $100,000 prize in the past. Weinberg is semi-retired. That sounds nice. And he buys scratch-off tickets almost every day. This time he plans to use his winnings to pay for some remodeling projects at home. But man, even buying 365 tickets a year, Riley, that's still some serious luck.
I think that has paid back and then some for him to play that every day. And congratulations to him. You do not hear that all too often, but you do have to play to win, as they say. Hey, we're looking at a beautiful afternoon across downtown Augusta. The Augusta Canal starting to get a little bit higher, so they are refilling it. We should see that back close to full levels over the next couple of days, hopefully. We're at 64 degrees right now in Augusta. This is actually our high temperature so far today. One thing that has changed over the last couple of hours is that winds are really picking up, so we are going to see a little bit of a gusty forecast heading into this evening. Those northwest winds are going to bring us some pretty cold air tonight. Going to be down near the freezing mark early Tuesday, most likely sub-freezing temps early Wednesday and Thursday. Protect those sensitive outdoor plants.
Okay, don't go anywhere. We have more News 12 coming up with Richard Rogers in just a few moments.